Hey traders from around the world, what's going on? It's your boy Jeremy Alexander Newsome with reallifetrading.com. Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. It is Monday the 23rd of January, already 2017. Man, January's already about to be over. Craziness. So what do we have here on the SPY? Well, today was the first day that Trump did a lot of the executive orders and signed a bunch of paperwork and did some stuff, and I didn't know if there was going to be a big shakeup in the market or not, but turns out, nope, not really. We are still in this very, very nice big pennant, small triangle, whatever you want to call it. It is most certainly there, though. Check out that lower line that I haven't drawn in here. We traded right down to it and bounced a little bit. So I think my good buddy Murray has some 227 calls expiring this Friday that he got into late sometime, late last week, late Friday. I still do have a wager on SPY. So I do not think it's going to make an all-time high this month. That was the wager. So we have a few days left for that to occur, obviously about a week. But so far from here, it's looking pretty good. So realistically, just kind of bullish to non-directional. I had a good friend of mine, James Baker, ask about the IWM. He's like, hey man, what do you think about a condor or a bull put spread or something? And realistically, on a weekly chart, if you pull up the weekly, here's your exponential moving averages. This does look very flaggish, and the lows of these two candles are almost identical. So very, very similar, right on the 10 EMA. So if you're looking at getting into a spread, as long as you can find some good premium on the IWMs, I would say probably a bull put spread makes the most sense initially. I told James that one could consider like a longer term bull put spread, kind of like farther away down here, something for March or whatever, and then up here for February. So just do a shorter term bear call, longer term bull put, because the trend, at least in my opinion, is bullish on the broader markets and, of course, on IWM. Got very, very close to a target based on the 17th of January. We set this trade up in the afternoon room, and we had some 134 February week one puts. Those are expiring next Friday. So yeah, just kind of watching them to see what they're going to do. Kind of keep an eye on it, but I really wanted to trade down to the 50 exponential today. At one point, it was looking pretty good, and so far it does still look okay. But that's pretty much what I got on IWM. Waiting for it to pull down just a little bit lower and see what we can do. But the rest of the market out there, the DIA, not DAL. The Dow Jones ETF still trading also pretty sideways, relatively speaking, and the Qs. Took example QQQ, nice white candle, bouncing off the 10 EMA. So realistically, I've been waiting for a bull put spread on the Qs, just waiting for a little bit more of a pullback if we get it. But so far, ladies and gentlemen, still bullish going into the first quarter and second quarter of 2017, just waiting for some kind of slowdown or pullback, which I think we're getting on everything, really, except the Qs. So interesting to see what that happens. Let's go look at Rite Aid. This one was requested, ticker symbol RAD. Rite Aid and Fred and CVS and Walgreens had a lot of crazy movements on Friday. And this one's really interesting because this is a choppy stock right now. Previous all-time high for 2008 was about $6 and some change. I really think there's a great chance we can trade back down to that price range, about $6.50. But from there, we are still making higher lows overall. So higher lows and kind of relative highs. It looks like it's in some kind of big wave 4. So on Rite Aid, as crazy as it might sound, this is one I'm not personally going to trade, but if you're looking at trading, it's kind of a buy low, sell high. Here's the daily chart. And again, very, very choppy, but as it pulls down into 650, you can see this is when the original buyout rumor happened in October 2015. And from there, we've just been trading sideways. So if it can pull down to $6.50, $6, I'd be keeping an eye on it to buy the dip longer term. Shorter term, though, some strong bearish edge, some good volume, some good candles, and one would probably be looking for some kind of wave rotation like that. A trade higher and then a rollover into the next few days to weeks. Nintendo also was requested. Let's see if I can pull that up. I believe it's this one. There we go. And Nintendo Limited, so I'll pull this one up on a weekly chart. And on the weekly chart, this one's interesting because of that huge gap that occurred back from when Pokemon Go is getting some really big news and everything. So you got a little bit of a support resistance right about here. And this line I'm drawing is really from this pivot right there. So that pivot is acting as a great support there, and we're kind of back at that support again on Nintendo. So this level, I personally feel, is pretty strong because if we kind of zoom in here to the daily chart, here's the daily. And obviously at gap slot, being trading 24 hours, you have some very small ranges the last few days. Very small ranges. So if you're looking at playing this one could be a bracket trade with a breakdown of this recent pivot right about here. So if we break down here, looks a little bit bearish. And if it breaks above here, looks a little bit bullish. I would just simply wait for a close and understand the stock does gap a lot overnight because it is traded on different equities and different markets. So something to keep in mind. I wouldn't have the stop super aggressive, but down in this general area, it's a great bracket trade. It would make sense to me with the new consoles and everything coming up that bullish. We should be moving bullish, but I guess we'll have to see and wait and find out. Let's go look at BABA. Ticker symbol BABA. Earnings right around the corner. And yeah, should be interesting to see what happened. Had a good little bullish move today, breaking out that pennant pattern with good volume. So here's the deal on BABA. If we get a strong gap down on earnings, keyword if, some bulls will absolutely be trapped. So that is going to be this week. Big bullish candle, great volume for all intents and purposes, looks bullish to me. So if we gap down on earnings, people are trapped. Look to go bearish on the short-term move on BABA. And of course, if we gap up on earnings, we got a nice white candle today. There will be people locking in some profit. Look to buy that dip, the retest gap. Here's their weekly chart. And I'm sorry, this is the daily moving averages. Daily moving averages still look good. Kind of looks like an invert head and shoulders pattern of some kind here on BABA. A little bit of a neckline. So yes, I'm bullish on BABA in 2017. My 2017 target on it is about $117. Here's the weekly chart. Weekly got a very nice small inside week last week with a bearish candle. So really, if we start making higher highs with earnings this week, I do think BABA continues almost at least until 108. And then 117 is my 2017 target on BABA. Got a lot of emails today about Netflix saying, Jeremy, it gapped up. It's supposed to be running bullish. What's it doing? You're absolutely correct. So as I mentioned on Friday, I tried Netflix once on Thursday and the second time on Friday, spending and losing 2R on Netflix. So with that being the case, I've said, hey guys, if I try this one twice and I lose on it both times, it's going to be filling that gap more than likely. So here's what I'm expecting on Netflix. Something like that. Feel free to take a screenshot or just kind of jot it down. I do think we're going to trade down a little bit farther over time. This was a very strong gap. And this analysis, I'm basing it mostly on the weekly perspective. Because if I come over here to a weekly chart, it is a very strong bullish gap. But just notice how many bullish candles are in here and how many people are taking profit. So you have a lot of bullish candles since from 86 to 137. So all-time high breakout. It would make sense that it pulls back to about 128. And as we get down there, I'll be looking for put sales, bull put spreads, longer-term calls, shares. Bullish on Netflix, but right now just waiting for the pullback. Skyworks Solutions continuing a little bit higher today. Nice looking move. Great gap on Friday. Mentioned on Friday that this would continue. I do have a wager on Skyworks Solutions all the way till March 1st. So 82.67. Got myself a Memphis, Tennessee wager on Skyworks Solutions. I know a lot of people may or may not be excited about that wager playing out. But yeah, my good buddy Hubert is in some calls on Skyworks. Here's the weekly charts. Weekly charts, some big candles coming up. I think we can make a little bit of a higher high and a higher low this week. But I do want to pull back at some point on Skyworks. Kind of as I mentioned on Friday, we're going to get one of two things. We're going to get this. We're going to get this, or we're going to get this. And it looks like we're probably getting the first one. We're going to make a little bit of a higher move, and we pull back sometime mid to late February, early March, and then potentially and likely continue higher on Skyworks. Qualcomm in bad with the Apple. Down huge today. A big lawsuit for, a few bill. Qualcomm, huge gap, beautiful gap, amazing location. This is what I refer to as a locational gap. And what I mean by that is it is a black candle gapping down, so it is a retest gap, but this is one of those situations where it's not going to retest because everybody is getting trapped on this thing, right? Gap below this support, gap below this support. It was down, I think about 8% or so at pre-market, right around there. So locationally, a flawless gap on Qualcomm. That's why it didn't stop at all when it opened. Just kind of ran down, now 12% at the close. Earnings actually still coming up on Qualcomm, and my expectations on this one, something a little bit more like this, potentially. Right? It doesn't have to be that big, but I'm interested to see what Qualcomm does on earnings. I think the gap ups, I'll be looking to short or to fade them, meaning to go bearish. So we did play Qualcomm, believe it or not, bullish in the morning day trading room. So I took a bullish entry. See if I can get my numbers correct. I could look at them in a second, but right here was the entry. Stop was right about here, and we exited right about there as it was kind of pulling back. So only 0.25 R on the bullish trade on Qualcomm. But nonetheless, as I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, in the first 2 quarters of 2017, I'm focusing a lot on black candles gapping down to play those bullishly. I had a lot of traders mention they want more bullish day trades in the morning day trading room. So that's what we're bringing to you. We are here to enrich lives. That is our mission, and that is our goal. Let's do one more. Twitter today. Twitter not doing too much. What's interesting about Twitter, though, is these candles do have the exact same low, 1646. So I'm watching for Twitter tomorrow, as today is an inside day candle, and you have a little bit of a support right there from that white candle. Is if it breaks below that, bottom line will trade back into here, which will, $16 or so, another 60 cents. And then on the weekly chart on Twitter, earnings is around the corner, but I could see it easily starting to slowly trickle down back to 14 bucks a share as stocks like GoPro and Fitbit and Twitter, all companies that a lot of people use, but fundamentally just aren't making that much positive revenue on top of their expenses, I would imagine probably keep slowly climbing lower. So anyway, I just wanted to watch. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's a big week. A lot of gaps, earnings, and things anticipated. If you have any questions or want me to review any stocks, I'll be happy to do so for free. We have 2 other stock reviews coming up this week. One on Wednesday, one on Friday. I'll be here. And until then, remember, love life, and trade it. Bye.